I don't believe you, Professor. Okay? You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here. Okay? I've read some of your stuff. I think you'd be more intellectually honest if you just come out and say, I'm on the side of the bad guys here. I think we shouldn't give state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back. You're trying to make it as hard as possible, aren't you?
We'll have to disagree on that point, Senator.
Nah. You ever heard the expression, watch what they do, not what they say?
Welcome back, patriots, to Right View Nation, where we speak the truth, call out the nonsense, and never apologize for standing up for our Constitution, our security, and our country. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join the fight for real American values. Now let's talk about what just happened in the swamp we call Congress. Senator John Kennedy, a man who doesn't mince words and doesn't play games, went head-to-head with one of these so-called legal experts, a professor who came before Congress to discuss the threat of drones being used by criminals and cartels at our borders and in our skies. And what did we get from this professor? Pages upon pages of legal tap dancing, constitutional nitpicking, and what I can only describe as a full-blown academic smokescreen to make it harder for law enforcement to do their job. Let me be crystal clear. Our enemies, both foreign and domestic, are not playing by the rulebook. They're using drones to smuggle drugs, weapons, and possibly even to conduct surveillance on American citizens and critical infrastructure. And instead of a clear, bold plan to let our state and local law enforcement fight back, this professor brings up the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, and the 10th Amendment, all in an attempt to tie the hands of the good guys. Senator Kennedy asked the most basic and important question. Should law enforcement be allowed to fight back against threats using drones? And what did the professor say? He didn't say yes. He gave a law school lecture. He started listing concerns, exceptions, and conditions. And let me tell you, folks, Kennedy saw right through it. Oh yes, Senator, I support law enforcement, but only if they fill out this form, wait 48 hours, get a judge's signature, do a dance, and make sure they don't hurt anyone's feelings. Are you kidding me? This is why nothing gets done in Washington. Because these academic elites, living in their ivory towers, don't understand the reality on the ground. They're not down at the southern border. They're not patrolling our neighborhoods. They're not facing real-world threats. But they sure do love lecturing the rest of us about constitutional limits, while criminals run free and our borders are breached.
In the ports of entry, but that's not your experience, is it?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kennedy?
The bad guys are using drones. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. And the federal government has the authority to fight back, does it not? But state, nobody disagrees with that statement? Sure, Professor.
I would say within limits, yes. Within constitutional limits.
Okay. Do any of you disagree with giving state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back?
Again, within constitutional limits.
Okay. Tell me what your constitutional concerns are, Professor.
So I have three primary concerns. The first has to do with the Fourth Amendment and the conditions under which a warrant is required and a general warrant is forbidden by the Fourth Amendment. So in this particular case, it's important.
Professor, before you give me one of your lectures, are you saying that we should require state and local law enforcement to get a warrant before they fight back?
It depends on the condition. So in an exigent circumstance or something along the border.
I'm aware of the exceptions to the warrant requirement. But you, generally speaking, you want to require them to get a warrant.
Only for the search of a device or the seizure of property. There are also due process implications of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You started to mention another one of your objections.
First Amendment.
First Amendment. Okay. Any others?
Yeah, I also have a state rights, a 10th Amendment concern here, which is that states own the airspace adjacent to the land within their state that's not federally owned, and the current federal provisions don't recognize state sovereignty in that way.
So you want to give state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back, but you want to list a whole lot of conditions. Is that a fair assessment?
Not a whole lot, but some. There needs to be a nexus to the facility. It can't be any drone anywhere in America if you're concerned about a particular facility, but right now it's too broad. There have to be acknowledgments of First Amendment concerns. So for instance, limiting the covered facilities to the experience and logic test with which the courts use for right of public access, or prohibiting media bans across the board, or setting a time limit before and after special events so they don't extend extensively. This is what a number of state measures already do, and I'd like to see that at a federal level and apply to bring this within the constitutional limits.
Sounds like a lot of conditions to me.
No, not very many. As long as there's probable cause and the conditions are met, then absolutely you can.
Have you ever heard of a legislative practice called loving a bill to death?
Yes.
Okay? And that's when you take a bill and somebody says, I'm really for this bill. But then they add so many amendments and they screw it up so badly that the bill either becomes ineffective or doesn't pass. Is that a pretty accurate description?
Of the term?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're trying to love this to death, aren't you?
I disagree.
You're not really for giving law enforcement the power to fight back, are you?
I am in favor of giving law enforcement that power and respecting constitutional limits.
I don't believe you, Professor. Okay? You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here. Okay? I've read some of your stuff. I think you'd be more intellectually honest if you just come out and say, I'm on the side of the bad guys here. I think we shouldn't give state and local law enforcement the authority to fight back. You're trying to make it as hard as possible, aren't you?
We'll have to disagree on that point, Senator.
Nah. You ever heard the expression, watch what they do, not what they say? I've watched what you've done. I know what you believe. You're on the FISA court?
I'm not on the court. No, I'm an amicus for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court and the Court of Review.
Okay. Were you there when you guys issued all those bad warrants against Trump's people?
I can't discuss my work on the court, unfortunately.
Oh, it's top secret, right? You'd have to put me on the American people on double secret probation if you told them the truth, wouldn't you?
No. I can't discuss my matters that I've handled before the court. I can discuss the public ones where I've dealt with First Amendment concerns and the right to petition. I did an extensive history looking at that right
I'm done,
to petition.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Kennedy. We're going to turn it over to Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Senator Kennedy had the perfect response. He said, "You're not talking to Bambi's baby brother here." That's right. Kennedy wasn't born yesterday. He knows exactly what's going on. This professor, and many like him, are loving this bill to death, drowning it in legal red tape, so it becomes useless. That's a trick as old as DC itself. Kennedy called it like it is. You're making it as hard as possible for law enforcement to do their job. And he was absolutely right. This wasn't an honest attempt to balance freedom and security. This was a calculated effort to weaken law enforcement under the disguise of constitutional concern. Now let me tell you what's really going on here, patriots. These left-leaning academics don't trust law enforcement. They don't trust you. They believe the government should control every aspect of your life, unless it comes to enforcing the law or protecting American borders. Then suddenly, they remember the Constitution. Where was all this constitutional concern when the FISA court was used to spy on Trump's campaign with bogus warrants? Kennedy asked the professor directly, "Were you involved in those bad warrants?" And what did he say? "I can't discuss that. It's top secret." Top secret, huh? Sounds like code for cover-up to me. They used the Constitution like a welcome mat when it came to spying on conservatives. But now that law enforcement wants to protect our facilities from real drone threats, they suddenly remember all the amendments. How convenient. Enough is enough. We the people are sick and tired of elites in D.C. protecting criminals more than citizens. We are done with unelected bureaucrats and overpaid professors standing in the way of our safety. If a drone is being used to smuggle fentanyl, fly over military bases, or surveil our infrastructure, I don't want law enforcement waiting around for a permission slip. I want them to shoot it down and protect the people. This isn't complicated. We believe in law and order. We believe in the Constitution, the whole Constitution, not just the parts that help your political agenda. And we believe in giving our officers on the ground the tools and the authority they need to keep this country safe. So to that professor, I say this: you may be able to impress your fellow academics with your courtroom jargon, but out here in the real world, we know what you're doing. You're trying to love this bill to death, and we're not buying it. And to Senator Kennedy, we salute you. You spoke for the forgotten men and women of America. You called out the hypocrisy. You didn't back down, and you didn't sugarcoat a single word. This is Right View Nation, where we say what others are too afraid to say. We don't cave to political correctness. We don't apologize for our patriotism, and we never stop fighting for the truth. Like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, stand your ground, America. Because this fight is just beginning.